All right, guys. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of Colin Trevorrow's script, Duel of the Fates. So spoilers, we don't get through the whole thing. We get a sizable amount, but as with all Star Wars works, we're gonna do it in 3 parts.
Trilogy.
And we planned this out, not like Lucasfilm.
Not like Lucasfilm.
Yeah, we totally didn't run out of time.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Let's hit the music.
Meanwhile, back on the podcast, 4 colossal nerds named Saba, Chris, Christina, and Frank have set out to take on a great darkness that has enveloped the world of fandom. With their powers of common sense and the strength to take on even the most butthurt Twitter mobs and insufferable comment section trolls. They fight for truth, objectivity, and nuance in the conversation and debate over fictional made-up shit.
Welcome back to another episode of Meanwhile Back on the Podcast. I'm Frank McGuire.
I'm Christina Duduma.
I'm Chris Abana.
I'm Saba Mir.
Thanks for joining us again. This is the part 2 of our script breakdown for Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates, the Star Wars that could have been. So we left off. We just met a group of warlords. They're basically controlling the power base around the First Order. They're displeased with the First Order and how they've dealt with the Jedi and with Rey. These warlords want Rey dead. They want the Jedi snuffed out. They want the rebellion snuffed out. And these guys are asking Hux, where is Kylo Ren? Like, where is he gone? Why isn't he here to take care of this? Blah, 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 blah. So we cut over to Mustafar. Ren has traveled to Vader's castle, and he's searching for answers. He's alone, but he has this droid that kind of is painted like Darth Maul. It's got like red and black kind of treatment to it. And he's got stubble, and it kind of indicates that he's been searching for quite a long time.
When did that become a writing trick? It's like, we need to show passage of time. Give him facial hair.
Yeah.
Man.
But that's real. That's like if you're wandering alone and like don't have access to razors.
He definitely has access to a razor. They did that in Game of Thrones
his
too.
lightsaber is like...
That's a really dangerous cut.
He could do it. Freaking they did that in Game of Thrones too. It's like Jon Snow and Tyrion both had like full beards, and they needed to show passage of time, and somehow it became longer than their full beards. It was so stupid.
I guess you could use a sword or something too.
So I think it's cool that we're back at Vader's castle. Like that's pretty dope, man.
Yeah,
like that's a really cool story decision.
It makes sense too, because he kept talking to the helmet. Like it makes sense that if he had the chance to go find his grandfather, that he would. Or
I think it's some closure. You know, we start off on this emotional beat in Force Awakens that he's still kind of trying to understand his grandfather and understand his legacy, and we find him in his castle on Mustafar. I don't know. It's got to be pretty musty in there and like dirty though, eh? Like, don't you think?
I feel like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying he cares. I'm just saying the aesthetic of it. Like it would look really weird if like they actually shot this.
What does a space castle look like? What are we talking about?
Space castle? It's definitely not a space castle.
It's a lava castle. Yeah, it looks menacing and dark side. It's so awesome.
It looks like Skeletor's castle. That's what it
just
looks
because
like.
you're on the dark side doesn't mean you don't want a nice piece of real estate.
Yeah,
I agree.
That is true.
Lava.
Actually, you probably have the nicest piece of real estate. You're the biggest dick in the universe.
Yeah, you're rich. You know what I hate? You know what I hate the most? Throne rooms. Like one chair in a giant room.
Yeah.
Get some couches in there, some recliners.
Little
Oh my
cushions on the
god.
ground, like little,
Worst.
I feel you.
Worst.
I'm always like
Throne rooms are the
asking,
worst.
like, what's
Waste
the
of
function
space.
of this stupid room?
Yeah, I hate throne rooms, dude.
You know, like
worst.
Snoke's room. There isn't even a TV in there. Does he just like send orders and not even like?
Just sits there all day.
Oh, I guess they have hologram
Just
technology,
sits nice
but
and
still.
straight. Just sits with a nice straight back.
How boring is that room?
Super fucking boring. So Ren's trying to locate a holocron, and during this search, he's been haunted by every step by Luke Skywalker, the Force Ghost Luke Skywalker.
Ever.
So Luke is frustrated, like basically fucking tormenting him back and forth, and he's not necessarily like, ooh, like anything like
love
that. He's just
Imagine Luke.
I would
doing
so
that.
do that if I was a ghost.
Mark Hamill would do
I mean,
that.
like I feel like you should at some point, just to fuck
But that's
with
it's a
it.
callback to Last Jedi, because it's like
Yeah.
if you strike me down, like I'll never leave you
Yeah.
or something. He
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
something in terms of that.
I will
So
return
awesome.
It was a
strong.
threat.
I will be strong. If you strike me down, I will become more stronger and powerful than you can
Yeah,
imagine.
and it's a very Luke thing to just never give up on someone, right? Like never
100%.
give up on his father, never gives up on his nephew. That should have been a
100%.
thing. It's
Yeah.
like you like
They made him like run away for a bit
yeah.
in this series.
And it makes
Yeah.
sense for him not to like try to contact him in The Last Jedi because it's like that was just fresh. Like he like Rey taught him how to not run away from his problems, and now he should be doing everything he can to like to redemption Vader this guy, whether or not he succeeds, right?
Well, he feels guilty, like he has a sense of guilt for what happened to Kylo. Like, Rey says to him in The Last Jedi, did you create Kylo Ren, right? Like, because of his actions. Like, was what you did to Kylo what led to him going to the dark side in such an extreme fashion, right? So Luke's haunting him, and Luke's like, this is not the path. Look at what happened to my father. Look at where it led him. And Kylo punches back with, Kylo's like, where did your path lead?
Yeah.
So they're
actually, like it's important to say what Luke said was, which was, this is the path of the dark side. This is where it leads you.
Oh,
to
right,
an
empty tomb.
Empty tomb, right?
Yeah, right. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he says this is where the dark path leads, an empty tomb. And then Kylo retorts back with, where did your path lead?
That's such a Kylo move, too. Like, fuck you.
Well, it's such a
Fuck you, Luke.
millennial move. That's what it
That's
is.
true,
Yeah, that's what Kylo is, though. He is like the millennial.
That's what I like about it is like they're not trying to over mature his character. Like they're really letting him play his age. I like that. I really do.
Yeah, for sure.
So Luke's been trying to convince Kylo to go back to Leia. He thinks that he can put him back on. He thinks he can put him back on the path to redemption, which I think is a good plot point.
And I think that would have made
point.
more sense if there was going to be an attempt at a redemption path or a redemption path for Kylo. It should have been work. It shouldn't have come so easily.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should have. There should have.
It shouldn't have been a question whether or not,
Yeah.
like, hey, you want to come back here? Yes or no? Like,
yeah, exactly.
sign your name at the line. Like,
So Kylo locates the holocron inside Vader's castle. It doesn't say where it is. I hope it was in something cool. The holocron contains a coded message from Palpatine intended for Vader. The message was the contingency,
which I like.
Yeah, which you've talked about before, which I think is awesome.
Operation Cinder
Yeah.
and all that thing. So Palpatine is like one of these guys, like just super meticulous, fucking to-do lists everywhere on his desk. Post-it notes with like, I have to do this today.
with strings
like,
and
with strings
pictures.
and shit. Like he's that kind of guy. He's super
Can you
meticulous.
recap Project Cinder for the listeners, just for those who might not know what it is?
Sure. So Project Cinder was I can't
Contingency
actually.
plan.
Do you remember
created.
it?
It was basically Palpatine said that at the end of like or whatever, if
If he
I die,
dies,
then
yeah.
there's no point, because if the king dies like in chess, there's no
Yeah.
point. Everyone else deserves to like kind of like also be gone. So Operation Cinder started off with like this attack on a planet. I forgot what planet it was, but I do know that the last stand was supposed to be on Jakku.
Yep.
And basically it was going to destroy all forces on either side, and whoever was left of like the Empire would kind of go to the unknown regions.
Yeah.
And so he had these contingency plans put up in case he died, and Operation Cinder was among them.
Yeah, and he had these like robots, like these androids
Yeah.
with his face on it, and they would travel to different Star Destroyers and take people's DNA to verify that they were the people that were supposed to receive these messages and all kinds of shit. So definitely, a guy that kind of checks all the boxes as far as being a little bit anal retentive. The message was a contingency, and Palpatine says if he unexpectedly dies, Vader is to take Luke to a system called Remnicor to go see Tor Valum, a Sith master. And I put in question mark here, Plagueis. Like, is Tor Valum maybe another iteration of Plagueis?
But
I don't
apparently
know.
he looks like he's like this weird like alien creature,
A little
right?
spindly, and he's got like a very alien head on him, and
Yeah, sounds creepy.
yeah, he does look creepy.
I don't think he's Plagueis, because like, so the way this, I don't know if this is just me delivering what I want from the script, but from what I pick up from this is that like this Sith Lord isn't a player in the game. He's kind of like a Sith Force in a way, where he like just sits, like he's like the dark side, but he doesn't interfere. Like he teaches whoever, and like Darth Plagueis was very much a player in the game. Like and it doesn't support his his backstory, which is he killed his master, right?
Right.
And he's saying that like this is his master.
Sure.
And what I really liked about this is that it's not another Snoke, because I'm worried like if it was just another Jedi, like another Sith master, it would just be like, okay, so there's another goddamn figure in the darkness, right?
Right.
But this felt like he was this like third party, like this is where you go to train as a Sith, but he doesn't interfere with this thing. He's more of an entity. So that's kind of what I felt from, which I thought was like really cool, like really like.
And I think it's fine too if we get introduced to various Sith masters, because we get introduced to so many Jedi masters, so there should be like sort of an equal number of Sith masters, because the Force has to be like balanced.
The
question
thing with
becomes,
the Sith is they have the rule of 2, though, right? Like the rule of 2, there can only be a master and apprentice,
which I
right?
thought was a mistake by Lucas. Like that was like so detrimental to his thing.
It did kind of pen them in as writers, that's for sure.
No, but the problem with that is the question becomes, where the hell were you this whole time, right? Like, like being a Sith Lord, like Palpatine being killed, this guy Torvallum should have done something, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the problem, which gets fixed if this guy is just an entity who like helps dark side users find their way into
like
Sith,
if you
right?
saw the picture of him, he's like this weird, like tentacle-y.
Yeah, he felt like an entity instead of like a player, right? Yeah. So he finds this Sith holocron, and I love how they call it holocron and not Sith Wayfinder, which for some reason they changed in I don't know,
so
whatever.
dumb.
So after he finds the location, the thing blows up in his face, and
like literally, not metaphorically.
Like literally, like shoots lightning in his face. And I love this as like the sign of the Force corruption.
Yeah,
because like I've said this before in part 1, where it's like I love how Force corruption happens to dark side users as like happenstance, because it kind of shows that like the Force has like power over fate, right? Because like
or the Force is petty.
Right, it's also petty, right? Because if you really think about it, like Palpatine got Force corruption, but it was through actions. It was through like he's shooting, like deflecting off Windu's lightsaber. Like Vader obviously got Force corruption because he fought somebody in the high ground.
Yeah, the high ground get you every time.
But yeah, so he gets like. Can you just imagine like Kylo Ren looking disfigured in this movie?
I love it.
It's so awesome.
It would look so cool.
So yeah, Chris just mentioned that the holocron kind of exploded in his face. Lightning came out. He's screaming in pain. So then we're cutting to Leia, who's on the Star Destroyer, which is kind of now the Resistance base. And then through the Force, she actually feels the pain like of her son's injuries. Like she's feeling it. And I guess she's sad about that. Doesn't really say how she feels about it, but probably upsetting. But Leia and the Resistance are actually heading to a place called Korolev, which I don't know if you guys know much about that place, if this is a place we know about.
No, this is new. This is a new planet that I've never even heard of.
So I love.
Do
I
we
love
know
seeing
why
planets.
they're heading there? I forget why they're going there.
I'm pretty sure that's like their base. Like that's where they're kind of setting up.
Oh, okay.
Like that's where that's where they're staging from in terms of their attacks and just kind of staying out of the eyes of the First Order, or staying out of the reach of the First Order. So,
well, Chewie apparently interrupts a conversation between Finn and Rose, and he's screaming. And he says he's having like a Wookiee freak out.
Yeah,
throwing a bit of a hissy fit.
Yeah,
that's per usual.
That's per usual. And he takes them to another part of the Star Destroyer where there's apparently just a giant cache of weapons and equipment and other things like vehicles, and they now think they have enough to sort of replenish the Resistance and like kinda
love
get them
this.
back.
I love this. I love the fact that their theft of the Star Destroyer has just inherited them all they need to kind of get back into the fight, right?
But
I love
with
this.
one exception, because they don't have the personnel to
They don't.
utilize this.
They don't.
And it's like foreshadowing.
Yep, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Okay, so I guess at this point they realize they don't have enough fighters to man the war machines. And Rey starts reading Jedi texts, and she finds out that there's a beacon hidden inside the Jedi temple on Coruscant. Coruscant. That can send out a message that will get through the communications blockade that the First Order put in place. And apparently the Jedi temple has old technology, so it can get around the countermeasures that were put in place by the First Order.
That's cool. I dig
Yeah.
that. Like we're going back to Coruscant. We're gonna see the Jedi Temple again.
And I buy the idea of the beacon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I buy the idea of the beacon because it's a Force beacon, right? And I buy the idea of being able to get around the First Order technology because the First Order technology is modern and obviously of today, right? Or of today in terms of
It's like
their context.
It's like using Morse
And-
code to
Yes.
to-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if you do get caught, it's not going to be the first thing that people are going to think you're doing.
Yeah.
They're going to like assume you're doing something else, and then
right.
maybe they'll eventually realize what you did, but it'll take time.
Yeah, and it takes us back to what happened in The Last Jedi when Leia is trying to get a message out to the rest of the galaxy to come and support her, and she's not getting anything back. It actually justifies the fact that nobody responded to Leia in The Last Jedi because this communication blockade could have already potentially been up there.
Yeah.
Like it already could have been
And
in
like
place.
I said in part one, like it solves the problem of why all of these people didn't want to show up in the beginning of in the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker, and then suddenly they show up to like be a militia in the finale for no reason. This solves it, right? Like there's a physical like plot point, physical plot point. There's an actual plot point where like that actually makes them rise up. It's not like it's fear, but it's also like they're disjointed, and now like Leia being the unifying
But
voice.
the only thing is, how much older do we think this technology is, and how many users?
Thousands.
How many users would be on that network or whatever? Like, how would anyone receive that message if it's thousands of years old?
Given that it's thousands of years old and that it was created by the Jedi, my guess is that the Jedi, as they moved around from planet to planet and established satellite bases or satellite temples, they just kind of integrated that technology so they could communicate back and forth if something like this ever did happen.
That would require like some kind of explanation in the movie. Like I could buy it if it was a 50-year gap.
No, I can buy it now. Like,
or even on
just
like a
even hearing it.
100-year gap,
Yeah.
just because people use record players still and whatever. But like thousands of years, I don't know. I don't buy that people are
Yeah,
still
but we're
using.
talking about in the context of a world where space travel is possible,
Yeah.
right? Like,
But that's what
in
I
a
mean.
car.
No, but
That's
they
what I
could
mean. Things move so quick. I don't buy that someone's using
Yeah.
technology from 1,000 years ago.
No, it wasn't 1,000. It was from literally the Republic.
Well, we don't know. Like,
Right.
Because the
But
Republic
here's
could
the
be
thing,
1,000
like
years
this,
old.
like her reading the text, they could explain it right there, right? Like she was
Yeah.
reading the old Jedi text,
Yeah.
so
That's
an
true,
explanation
too.
could fit right in there. Right?
That's true too.
Yeah.
And again, it's a nice callback to The Last Jedi with the Jedi text, because if you're watching with with a keen eye, you can see her put all the Jedi texts in that drawer in the Millennium Falcon and close the drawer. Like that's what she was.
Right.
That's why Yoda's like, whatever was in those books she already has, right? When he burns the library
Unless
down.
like Jedi's can sense the message or something.
There's no
I,
Jedi's
sen- I
left.
sense a transmission
the
coming
sad thing
through.
is there's no Jedi's left. So
well, Force users might sense
that's
it.
the problem. So the Resistance formulates a plan. They're going to go to Coruscant, to that Jedi temple, beam a message to the rest of the galaxy as a call to join the final fight against the First Order.
So Poe comes up with a plan, and then there's a comedic beat where Finn's like, I'm gonna I'll lead the ground forces, and Rose is like, I'll really lead the ground forces. It's like, and it shows like, I don't know, their relationship growing, right? Like it'd be, I don't know. I thought it was.
I don't know if they would have a romance or not in this movie, but I do like that.
But, like,
she's
it's a
in this
friendship.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a much more like you get the sense that she's a much more well-developed character in this script in comparison to into past films that we've seen her in. Like she actually has a personality, and she's having significant interactions with other characters. Like I think she says that to Leia. Like Finn's bragging, he's like, I'll lead the army on the ground. And Rose jumps in and she's like, no, I'll really lead the army on the ground, and then I'll let Finn think he's doing it.
That
Like,
was in
she says that
response to
Leia.
Leia giving Poe a look, right? So when Poe said he was going to lead the
To Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, to Finn.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind
Oh,
of
okay.
like,
so
yeah.
so then Leia gives Finn a look, and then Rose steps in and is like, "No, I'll do it." Actually,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
a
kind of
nice-
like that.
It's a nice little comedic beat that kind of adds to the character for sure.
So after this whole scene where the Resistance is coming up with a plan, Luke actually speaks to Rey for the first time and said, inside the Jedi dojo. So Luke is going to start training Rey in this, I guess, and I think later on in the script we'll maybe see some issues with that.
Yeah, I think that's connected to the concept artwork we see where Rey's kind of like floating in the middle of this training ground. and Luke is in the background. You can kind of see him in one of the doorways. He's not glowing or anything, so I think the concept artist was just drawing him as is, but that's kind of the idea I get from that. So we go from there to an operating theater. It's on Coruscant. Kylo Ren, he's surrounded by a bunch of Ugnaughts, so a bunch of Queels. A bunch of Queels are running around him, and they're actually attaching Beskar, like Mandalorian armor, over the wounds on his face.
Whoa, so metal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, really,
So
really
cool.
cool.
So now he's like the singer in the metal band.
He legit.
He's the singer
Knights of
for the
Ren.
Knights of Ren. There you go.
Oh, he probably has so many fangirls.
Oh yeah.
Who?
Oh yeah, he does. Even with all
Oh,
that metal
Kylo
on his
Ren?
face.
Oh, damn. He
Me-
would.
Metal face? Call him
Yeah.
Metal face?
Oh, he's still gonna be hot. Even
I don't
with
think
all the metal.
I don't think Ray's gonna be able to make out with him now, that's for sure. But yeah, or anything else. Kylo confronts Hux, belittles him, and says he doesn't need titles. He's referring to the fact that Hux has more or less crowned himself the Chancellor of Coruscant. So that's kind of what's happening here. So we get to see a little bit more of the dynamic between Hux and Kylo, what we've already seen throughout the movies, where one, they don't really like each other, and two, they're kind of constantly in flux with each
They're
other.
like
I kind of love this part where Hux gives himself a
Yeah.
title to feel
Funny.
special.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah,
of love
I feel like
that.
and the whole like belittling Hux, like he does that every scene.
Yeah.
That's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's just their dynamic. It's just their dynamic. That's
Well, it's
really
because
all they
Hux
are.
is so like try hard.
He's,
Yeah.
he's weaselly as fuck. That's what his problem is. He's just weaselly as fuck. So then we see Rey touching her face as she's reacting to the pain as they're applying this
So
Beskar
awesome. So awesome.
to Kylo's face. So again, it's more subtext. It's more supporting story elements to the idea that Rey and Kylo have this just inherent kind of force connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Which
I
is really
like
cool.
that continues through because in the most recent movie, it felt like they didn't have that strong of a connection anymore, and like it didn't really make sense. Like they kept calling to each other in all the movies, and I felt like that should have got stronger.
Honestly, I kind of felt like in the Rise of Skywalker, the whole force back or force book or whatever the hell you want to call it, was kind of done to a really good degree. Like the fact that they could, physically fight each other, take things away from each other.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't like that part.
You didn't like that part?
I don't like this force. Like I like them fighting with each other. That's pretty cool. And like looking for clues of where they are.
Yeah.
But like this whole passing lightsabers through space was fucking like that was like a weird like practical plot device, right? Like it's to solve problem. I don't know. It was really.
Do you
weird
think
for
they're
me.
the only two people who can do it, or like other Jedi would be able to do it? Like I don't know
man.
what they were implying with that. Like, is that
Yeah.
a new force power, or is it only something they can do because of their connection? Yeah, I don't know
It's
enough
weird.
about their connection. I feel like
Yeah.
there's still so much more I need to understand about that.
And like if they
We're not
did
going to learn
that,
any more though.
Damn.
Yeah, I kind of
I'm
like
gonna-
it
I'm
if
gonna
it's
look for some
just
fan
them.
fiction.
I kind of
Yeah.
like it if it's just something the two of them
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
But then that's why I think it's like that's why their connection felt special to me, and that's why it made sense. Their
Yeah. It was
romance to
special
me.
for sure.
So
I knew you were going romance again.
Yeah.
only in this one situation, it kind of makes sense.
All of a sudden, Rey gets pulled into this vision. There's two thrones, and she is fighting. She sees herself, and she gets struck down by Kylo Ren. And she removes the blindfold that she was wearing during a training session with Luke. And then Luke asks her, "What did you see?" Rey tells Luke that she sees a mountain, and she sees Kylo, and she sees two thrones. Luke tells her that she's seeing the future, very reminiscent of Yoda, kind of telling Luke about his visions of his friends being in trouble when he was on Dagobah,
Right.
and his friends were in Bespin, right, on Cloud City. So kind of a callback to Empire Strikes Back, which is kind of cool.
And this kind of fixes the problem you guys had with Leia training Rey in
Oh, I definitely
Rise
like.
of
Oh, I love
Skywalker.
Luke training
Yeah.
Rey.
Force Luke, and like
Yeah,
I love this idea of force anyone training anyone because that's been done, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it has been.
like it's so awesome. I don't know.
yeah, no, I like it. No, I think it works. And honestly, I wanted to see more of Luke Skywalker in the last film. I kind of feel ripped off that I didn't get to see more of Luke Skywalker. Like Luke Skywalker is not my favorite Jedi, but he's a great character, and I like the fact that he's, they've brought him back to a place where he hasn't given up, and he's still trying. He still has hope, right? He still has belief in somebody, which is right. So
Yeah.
that's really cool to me.
Yeah. So like Luke then like weirdly asks her like where it is because he doesn't
Yeah.
know. And then she says it's Mortis. I don't know how she knows this, but she says it's Mortis, which is like this thing that we first see in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Where it's like kind of like the origin
Origin.
point for the Force, and that's where you see like the father and his like
The father, the daughter,
the daughter
and the son. Yeah.
which is like kind of like the embodiment of the Force. And
Maybe she knows it from reading the Jedi texts. I feel
but
like
then Luke doesn't.
yeah, but I
'Cause
feel
he's
like
also
Luke
read
was
it.
like an action guy. He wasn't like a reader. I don't picture Luke like spending the time to read some ancient text.
He definitely read those books.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
think so.
Yeah, he started to think. But anyways, so this is where I kind of like, I don't know, like reading the script more and more, like I kind of found it necessary for the finale to take place in Mortis. It's just weird to ask fans to know what Mortis is and to introduce this like very very important thing in the mythos in the lore this late into it. I mean, like, to be fair, it's been introduced in Clone Wars, right?
Right.
But you can't expect your fans to know
Right.
what it is. But like seeing it seeing it objectively, like there's really no other place for this climax to take place, right?
Yeah.
Mortis is the start. It should be at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like it lends itself to the speculation that we were doing in the first episode, trying to come up with a reason, for Trevorrow to kind of be disillusioned with the creative process,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like, was it Mortis? Was it,
I say it's
was
Mortis.
it Luke? Was it Leia?
Yeah.
Like, what was it about this particular script that kind of, threw Kathleen Kennedy a curveball where she's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you
let's
guys
not do
think-
this anymore.
Do you guys think it was also cost of this script? Because going through and seeing like all the different places they're going, looking at
True.
the concept art,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is an expensive movie.
That's
Yeah.
Like
true.
legit, like
Maybe.
looking at all the concept art, like it was really cool. But like,
I mean,
Yeah, but JJ definitely got
Rise-
paid more money to
Yeah.
direct
Yeah,
that
That
movie.
is true.
Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker was pretty visually ambitious
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
Like especially like all of Palpatine's stuff. That must have been so expensive, right?
Right.
Mm.
But yeah, you might have a point there for sure. But I think it was, for once, actually creative differences, right? Because
Yeah.
they say that tagline, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it actually is because it's very out there, this script, right?
it's a
And
very different
easy
script. But
to
I've-
say no to it.
I wouldn't say it's out there. I would say that they are introducing a lot of canon concepts that casual Star Wars viewers might not be aware of. But
Right.
no, I agree with that too. Yeah, that could
Yeah.
be it. Like with Project Cinder, because like we talked a lot about Project
Yeah.
Cinder beforehand, and even like Coruscant to a part, and then obviously definitely Mortis.
Yeah.
Are things that have not unless you kind of know more about the mythos.
Yeah.
I
You
think that's fan servicey in a better way than what they did in Rise
Yeah.
of Skywalker.
Yeah,
though.
well, it's not even. I don't even categorize it as fan service because it's not like a useless thing that they added in to make fans happy. It's this very symbolic plot point essentially.
Yeah.
Like it's a climax setting for the movie. Oh, so
And
sorry
a fitting
for the
end.
fans.
And a
Yeah,
fitting
exactly.
end. Yeah.
For the fans like Mortis who don't know what Mortis is, like it's this one episode in Clone Wars where they go there and it like there's these three people there and they kind of embody the light side, the dark side, and the objective side of the Force, and like this is where they kind of show where Anakin's heading. Like that's the first time they ever show Darth Vader like what Anakin's gonna be.
They show him
which
a
is Darth Vader.
premonition of Darth Vader.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's this kind of like not a planet. It's this kind of like extra dimensional space in
Yeah.
a way where the Force comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on.
At this point, Luke tells Rey underneath the Temple of Mortis in the well is a power source that all the Jedi draw from. And he says to her, if we get that power, we don't need armies.
Which is pretty ominous for
Yeah.
Luke to say, right? Like that's a little dark sidey. It's like, hey, just get this power. We got this. Like
That's
it's
pretty.
It's a little covetous, right?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I wouldn't see Luke Skywalker saying, but
Under the right circumstances, right? Like
but
he
there
could-
looking for a final
Yeah,
solution at this
yeah.
point, right? And I think it's the same. So we have Obi-Wan. I can't remember whether it was Empire or whether it was Return of the Jedi, but Obi-Wan's basically trying to tell Luke that he needs to kill his father to kind of end all this. And Luke is like, I'm not going to kill my own father. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, then we're lost, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, we're
Yeah.
done.
Well,
and
it's
it
Yeah.
actually
interesting.
gets mirrored by this because because he says right after
You get
is
to kill.
if we get it, we don't need armies, but if Kylo gets it, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And then Leia says, Rey
Rey.
says exactly what Luke says, which is like, what do you want me to do? Kill Leia's son?
Yeah.
Kill Ben? I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
It's exactly what he said.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And I love this because he's now like Luke's now taking the perspective of Obi-Wan in the original, where it's like he's not like Obi-Wan stopped being this idealistic like warrior for the Jedi. He became like practical. It became like you need to kill like Vader.
Yeah.
And I love that like dynamic switch where it's like
Yeah. And in response to Rey saying that to him, he says, the Force guides us towards balance. It doesn't necessarily show us what we want to see, which is also ominous. Like another kind of creepy thing for him to tell Rey.
But it's also a very contradictory point. Like this is where it kind of breaks rhythm with The Last Jedi a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Luke is at the end of The Last Jedi, well, we don't really know kind of exactly how he felt about the Jedi per se before he sacrifices himself in terms of his little, his force teleportation across the universe to deal with Kylo, but so he can distract them so everybody can get away. But we don't necessarily know how he feels about the Force at that point. Now, not a lot of people know this, but in the novelization of The Last Jedi, I've listened to the audiobook. There's a part where Luke actually calls to Rey and says he's going with her. Like he's going to leave with her and go and confront Kylo. Like he's going to be a part of this mission, right? Yeah. That never made it through in the movie, sadly, because that would add a lot of context. But he comes down from the hill and then he sees Rey with Kylo, and that's when he changes his mind again. So at one point, Luke was on board with the idea of being partner to Rey to try and fix this, right? To try and confront Kylo Ren and to try and redeem him, right? So
and I guess at this point we see that Rey and Luke kind of have different ideas about how they envision the hero to be,
right?
And we kind of see Rey pushing back against Luke's idea of light needs to be dark, because she says we've done that, we've been down that road, it doesn't work, and it turns into this argument about balance. And in Rey's vision, when she saw the two thrones, one was light and one was dark, and so they just get into this like philosophical discussion.
Which I really
about
do like. This is the part of the script that I liked.
Yeah, I love this part
because I think it makes sense, and I think it's something we've all kind of pointed out is like the issues with the Jedi teachings, and how they kind of fell into what they ever fall into, because it is still in itself like obviously the opposite of the Sith, but it has its own fallings, right? Yeah. And then with Rey questioning that, because like you were mentioning some of the lines that she said, which was. I think in the script says balance, the dark suffocates the light experiences dark over and over and over again. How is that balance in the Force?
Yeah, it's just a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's just a vicious cycle that keeps repeating over and over and over and over again. And this is my main contention when I say something has to fucking change in the world of Star Wars, because everything is so goddamn repetitive. Like, I love it and it's fantastic, but I'm getting to the point where like I feel like I'm dating a girl purely just because I physically am attracted to her, and I no longer have anything of substance to talk to her about. Like, that's what I kind of feel like at this point.
That's your relationship with Star Wars at this
That's
point.
right now. That's kind of where I'm getting to, because I've experienced this. Like, I've dated women who I'm really physically attracted to, but after a while,
they don't know how to use a lightsaber. I don't really understand.
Sorry.
They can't activate his lightsaber anymore.
The quality of the conversation just doesn't maintain the same momentum, right?
Welcome to the Frank.
We don't have the same
in Toronto podcast.
We don't have the same
Sex
substance.
in the City, Frank
hey
edition.
man, it's a good metaphor. It's a good metaphor.
No, it was actually pretty good metaphor.
Sex in the Galaxy.
Jesus.
There you go.
Anyway, so what Luke says to Rey after that, after she's like, how is it the balance in the Force? He says, I know that anger. My father had it too. And I'm like, I hate that. Anytime anyone gets angry, they're like, oh, my dad had that anger. It's like, come on, stop it. But I really like this line.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. But she says, so says my master and his master before him, 1,000 masters so eager to tell us how to live.
Man, when did Rey get so wise? God
She's,
damn.
Yeah.
she's undermining.
Schooling-
She's undermining the
schooling
Jedi,
Luke.
which I like.
I feel like
you
that
know?
was her path. I feel like that's what she was supposed
That
to
should
do.
be her
Yeah.
path.
That's what I
After she
wanted
finds
to
out she's
see
no
in
one.
Rise of
And it's
Skywalker.
supported by
Her
the
path.
script. It's
Yeah.
super supported by the script
Yes.
because like that's the through line of the script is like in the beginning it was like they saw Jedis as this like the idealized version of them and
Yeah.
then but Rey didn't agree with it and then it shows like Rey's realistic side of what a Jedi what like balance should be and what she should be and yeah so
Yeah.
I
And
don't
that
know.
makes sense. 1,000 years
It's
has
just like-
passed. Like, let's see someone challenge the ideas from 1,000 years ago. We don't live the
I-
way we did
yeah
1,000 years ago.
I
so-
agree, dude.
And
I
I like
completely
the-
agree. I
And I like
completely agree.
where this puts Luke because Luke it doesn't make Luke the antagonist to Rey, but it does make him an opposing idea to Rey's ideas. It kind of like it fixes a lot of the problems he had in the Last Jedi, where like his ideas aren't idiotic; they're just different from Rey's, and Rey's the main happens to be the main character of this, so Rey's right.
Well,
right?
if some ghost from 1,000 years ago from some ancient society was talking to you, their ideas might seem whack too. You'd be like, "No, man, what are you talking?"
Right.
But
well, the whole thing with Luke is that like it's like Luke needed to oppose Rey in the Last Jedi, but they could have done that without making Luke's current ideas dumb as fuck. They could have just made it like he has points, but Rey's the main character and her points are better, right? And it's like this is where Luke should have been in the Last
100%.
Jedi.
And I like that he's an
100%.
opposing force. Like in a way, he's antagonizing some of Rey's ideas, but he's also antagonizing Kylo's ideas. So I like that he's a little bit of an opposing force to both of them.
Yeah, I like
but also
that.
a little bit of
Yeah.
a teacher to both of them. So
Yeah.
that like reinforces the idea that they might each come to a middle ground. So Rey might come to a middle ground,
Ooh,
and
it's almost
Kylo
like
might
the
come to a middle
father,
ground.
son,
Yeah.
daughter.
There you go.
Thing.
True.
there you
right
go.
there.
Holy shit! I didn't even notice that.
Damn. Look
That's
at
pretty
that.
good. That's pretty good. But Rey's more in the middle than anybody. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Yeah, Rey's more in the middle than anybody. But I think the great thing about the about this relationship is that Rey came to this revelation on her own. It's not necessarily like in the Last Jedi where she's like, why does like Luke's saying the Jedi need to end. Rey's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
and he has to explain it to her, right?
Yeah, and
He has to
Luke
kind of
should have
run
been
down.
fighting for the Jedi because he still holds to that idealistic like view of them, and Rey should have been opposing Luke instead of the other way around.
No, see, I disagree with that. I agree with what I agree with Luke's read on the Jedi in The Last Jedi because he's right. Like,
So how
they-
is Rey supposed to come to that conclusion if Luke has the same conclusion?
well, I'm saying she came to that conclusion on her own. Like, she either read the Jedi text and learned the information on her own, right? Like all their failures, how they fucked up, how they let Palpatine come to power, how they let Darth Vader rise to power,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And she made her own mind up about it, which I like more than, Luke saying, I'm going to meet you in the morning. And then after I have a 10-minute
Yeah.
conversation with you,
Yeah.
you're going to change your mind entirely about how you feel about the Jedi, right? Because that's just not how things happen, right?
Right.
Like, change is a thing that comes from a very internal place,
Right.
right?
But I feel that I fear that if they both came to that conclusion, you would kind of lose out on this like what I really like about the script, which is Luke butting heads with Rey because they have different ideas of the Force, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry, of what a Jedi should be or what the hero should be, whatever. And I think that like I mean, this whole thing's a missed opportunity. I was gonna say missed opportunity, but it would have been kind of like a waste if they both kind of agreed on it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if Rey had the right idea and Luke had the antiquated idea, that
Mhm.
would have been interesting to see them butt heads, right?
Right,
Like
right.
philosophically.
Right.
But anyways, let's move on. So back to Kylo. Hey, Hux and Kylo are having their this marital dispute.
Really, I
And
mean.
some of a what do you call that?
Fan fiction?
Fan fiction.
Oh man, is there Kylo Hux fan fiction? They're 100%.
Oh,
Okay.
probably.
Anyways,
yeah.
Kylo says he's leaving again.
They're exes.
And then he
Yeah.
says
explains everything.
They're
That
exes.
explains everything.
Yeah,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
that
What a-
explains the undermining.
Yeah.
So like Kylo says he's leaving again. But he says like, I'm gonna go get this power and it's gonna make the power of destroying planets insignificant, which is exactly what Vader says to one of the admirals.
Yep.
It wasn't who we're thinking of, but he says like the power to destroy planets is insignificant to the power of the Force.
Yep.
So
Which
like
is really
I love
cool.
all the parallels, man.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah.
And then Kylo's last order to Hux before he leaves is, honey, go find the resistance and wipe them out.
Honey.
Leave the girl to me.
That's exactly what it is.
It exists.
Christina
Oh,
just showed me
wow. It
a picture of
Oh,
a
wow.
fanfic.
There's fan fiction art of Hux like cleaning Kylo's wound.
Let's
Wait, Kelly, that's PG. I bet you there's worse.
Oh, I'm sure there's kissing ones. I
Yeah.
don't know, but this is pretty romantic.
Probably
It's
written
like,
by a chick that really likes redheads.
look at that.
Probably written by a
There's
chick
so
that really
much.
likes redheads.
Oh, there we go. There's
Yeah.
the kiss. There's the kiss.
Oh man, Christina's in a rabbit hole now.
all
She's not
right,
getting out.
all right. No more rabbit hole. Let's
What do
climb
they call that shit? Yaoi, right? Yao. It's called
Yeah,
yaoi.
in Japanese, like
Yeah.
manga
I love that
and
it.
stuff,
I
there's,
love
like,
that this
yao.
exists. I love that we speculate it exists, and it does.
Of course it does. So Kylo's obviously going to where this Sith holocron is pointing him to meet this like ancient, redundant, ancient Sith master, right? So he's going to the Sith planet. How do you say this? Ramnikor?
Remnicor. But
So-
before he leaves
Oh,
Coruscant,
sorry.
he takes Vader's mask, and he thinks he better understands Vader now, and he's like, "You
I
allowed
love that scene.
you
Yeah.
allowed love to cloud your judgment," and he throws Vader's mask off a balcony or something, and
Yeah.
it shatters. So this is where I think we lose him completely, because
And this is where he surpasses his inferiority complex with Vader.
yep.
He like graduates at this moment. And
Yep.
that's a very powerful moment. For
Yeah, he
Kylo.
does graduate, but he also goes off in another direction where he kind of he can't justify, like he can't reconcile the fact that, you know, his grandfather had real love and emotion for people. Like
Mhm.
this was your downfall, right?
Right.
And I think that this is a good place to point at where Kylo really loses his grip on
Yeah.
the light side of him, right?
Yeah.
I really like that this is a story arc for Kylo going more dark.
Yeah,
So I
pretty
think
good.
I think that's really cool.
So he's basically taking on the aesthetic of Vader with this Mandalorian Beskar like on his face. And he's so damaged that he's now needing to wear like a more extreme breathing apparatus. So kind of something similar to what Vader had, but apparently it's like a lot more guttural.
Oh, that's gross. I didn't want to hear
and
that.
louder.
Bad.
I do. Sounds awesome.
A
says it's-
nastier breathing.
He's saying it's reminiscent of Vader's. He's basically part machine, part man now. So he's come his grandfather's entire arc where he's become
Yeah.
part machine, part man, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's
And
happy
he-
about that he's more like his grandfather or not, but
And the thing
um,
that makes it different is that he's determined to not have his grandfather's flaw. Like he figured out his grandfather's flaw and
Yeah.
he doesn't want to have that.
yeah. And so Kylo comes face to face with Tor Valum for the first time, and Kylo asks Valum if he is Plagueis, and Valum responds, "That name means nothing to me."
Yeah.
So that could mean anything.
I think
This
think,
is a very ambiguous
I think
answer.
he may have been Plagueis at one point.
Yeah.
But now he's like an
That's what I'm
entity.
thinking.
He's evolved.
Yeah. Like
That's
he
kinda
doesn't
cool.
even care about. I feel like he doesn't even care about like the small matters of mankind, right? Like
Apparently, Valum is 7,000 years old,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's just like some kind of compressed darkness into
Yeah.
a being.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's unknown origin. He's an alien. He's spindly, and he looks like kind of a Lovecraftian kind of character, apparently.
Yeah.
So
I love the extra steps that Colin Trevorrow took to not introduce another Snoke, another enigmatic puppeteer character.
yeah,
Like, this feels so different from any other ones because like you could feel good about this creature existing within what happens with all of these stories and not asking the question like where was this guy
yeah, you're
this
really
whole
not.
time, right?
Yeah,
Like I love that extra step where
Yeah.
where like the Return of Palpatine did not accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Like the Return of Palpatine not only didn't accomplish that, like backtracked on a lot of things Star Wars did before, right?
Yeah, and you're really not making any connection with this character because you have no backstory for
Yeah,
him.
and you don't have to,
and
right?
you don't care, right?
Yeah.
Like, you really don't care what happens to him. You really just want to see him do cool shit for
Yeah.
Kylo, right?
Yeah.
That's really it.
I would have been even okay with them if he was also a Force ghost, some
Yeah.
sort of Force ghost, and not an actual being,
Yeah,
right? Like him being a Lovecraftian. First of all, like that image is amazing.
yeah.
Him being this like non 3-dimensional, like this like sort of like creature of horror, that's amazing. But if he was also, a Force ghost, I would be okay with it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before Rey leaves for Bonadon, do we know
But
that?
not in.
Bonadon.
We're not.
Mhm.
Do we know this place?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Poe has told her he knows someone who's force sensitive that would know the way to Mortis, apparently, because Poe just has like a lot of contacts, this guy.
Apparently, she's like a seer that can like extract something from
Like memories or
and
things?
stuff. Yeah.
They
You
kind
know-
of redid that in a sense with C-3PO and Babu Freak.
I feel like
inside.
Poe would have a lot of contacts, though. He seems like the kind of guy who just chat random people up in a bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. He
Yeah,
probably
he
does.
fucks
Yeah.
anything that walks.
Yeah, that too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
feel like he's one of those guys that's just gonna make friends with like 10 people in the bar every time he goes
Yeah.
to the bar.
Yeah,
you know?
he's like their top operative for sure.
Yeah.
He's got connections.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Rey and Leia, I guess, have an exchange before that, where Rey is basically saying she still believes there's good in Kylo, but Leia's skeptical about it.
See, I like this. Leia is the one that's
I
skeptical.
don't know if I like it because usually,
Yeah,
like a
that's
mom
the
is not like
mom.
mom's like that's my boy.
It's weird.
It depends on
But the
your
mom
mom.
has a better instinct than the mom has a stronger instinct if he's too far gone, right?
I don't know.
And she's force sensitive about it.
Yeah, but even if you have that instinct, like you
As a
your
mother-
mothering instinct will lie to you.
Yeah,
Especially
but,
Leia.
Yeah, but
I
this
don't
is
know.
this is
Especially
a son
Leia.
who killed his father, so she also loved Han,
Yeah.
and her son killed Han.
Still weird.
So
I don't know.
Still
I
weird.
I think
like-
she would be skeptical. I
And
see
she's
that.
feeling everything that he's gone through so far
Yeah.
too, right?
I guess so. But anyway, Leia ends up saying, Rey says she believes in her Jedi training, and Leia says, this is an interesting line. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is what it's going to be verbatim,
Yeah.
but it said, you're not like my father or my brother. You're new. Whatever happens, remember the Force chose you, Rey. Your story isn't written by anyone else.
I
The
don't like you're new.
thing- Your new just feels a little like different, like, damn, you're new, girl. Like, you're new right here. I don't know.
I think it's just a poor choice of words. I think someone could like workshop that.
I think
but-
other than you're new, it made
Yeah.
it was like,
It's a little pedestrian. You know,
Yeah.
they could have come up with a better word, a better phrase for
This is
that.
this is like an unedited script, though, right? So I'm
no,
sure.
but the rumor is it's like a 5th draft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't. I can't. I don't know for sure though. So before everybody's about to leave Korolev to carry out their missions, the First Order shows up in orbit above Korolev. They have tracked down the stolen Star Destroyer. So again, carries back kind of to The Last Jedi a little bit with the tracking technology and all that
they
shit.
should be able to track their own goddamn stolen
that too.
goods.
That too.
the
Maybe they went to
the evil DMV.
Maybe we went to the evil
The Sith
DMV and tracked
DMV.
them in. Hux orders the First Order to destroy the
Can
planet.
I just say,
Yeah.
if there was an evil D in DMV, that place would have a bunch of slots working, like
Oh.
Zootopia.
oh man.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. They'd have like the slowest like alien creatures they could possibly
It
have.
would be the Queel creature. What is that?
The
one?
Ugnaughts?
Yeah, Ugnaughts.
You
It'd be a
think
bunch
the
of-
Ugnaughts we
yeah,
worked in the
I have
movie?
spoken. You're not getting your license renewed. I have spoken.
Oh, it'd be amazing. They are slow too. He's like slow to get to the point. Like
Yeah,
it'd be so
waddles
great.
Oh,
everywhere.
Nice. So Hux orders them to destroy the planet. As the First Order are attacking, everybody escapes. So
Good for them. Good for those guys. Escaping
So
out
now,
there.
now the group is splitting into 3 teams. Team A is Rey, Poe, and Chewie in the Millennium Falcon.
yeah.
Poe and Chewie have a funny scene about who gets the co-pilot and who's the pilot. So I guess
Yeah.
it's kind of like a fight between old and new.
Yeah.
And then Team B is in the Hawk. It's Rose, Finn, and BB-8.
We don't know what this ship looks like either. Like we have no idea, but
No, and then like back to that the funny beat, like Chewie like shouts and everybody's like, yeah, he should be the like he just
like
ends the
Chewie always
conversation
does.
and just goes, yeah, he's right. He
Yeah,
should
he'll
be
pull
the
your
one."
he'll pull your arms off. Yeah.
So by the way, what do we think about this like escape scene? I feel like if it's supposed to be like a big scene, or is it just like, I feel like this fight scene's kind of injected. It does give us
I think it's just the
tension?
timing. I think the timing creates a natural exodus point for
Okay.
the teams to split up
Right.
because they have a mission to carry out
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
know about the mission, like they know what they're doing next.
Yeah.
And then First Order shows up and they're like, okay,
Yeah,
it's
to
time,
keep the
it's time-
tensions
it's
up, I
time to
think.
go. It's time
Yeah.
to like move, right?
Right.
And there's an important beat here. So Finn looks up at the Millennium Falcon as the teams part ways, and he says, "Good luck, Rey." And Rey is inside the Millennium Falcon, and she can hear what he said, and she says, "Thanks, Finn." So this is where we see that Finn is also force sensitive.
Yeah. This is definitely a demonstration that
Yeah?
he's force sensitive. If he
For sure, yeah.
they're
I think so, too.
connected for sure.
Yeah, but like she heard him is fine, right? Like, do we know that he heard her? Because like like
Good point.
Oh, I see
Right?
what you mean.
Oh, that's true.
Good point. But I think that's what they were trying to indicate. Like I really think they were trying
I don't
to
know. I
indicate
think I mean that could also be true, which I'm not opposed to.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like Rey saying it to herself, like she can hear Finn.
We forgot to say that Team C is Leia, the remaining
Oh, yeah.
Resistance, R2, and 3PO.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So those are the
Going back
three
to where we
teams.
were.
So
Yeah.
it's on the Falcon, it's Rey, Poe, and Chewie. And Team B is on the Hawk.
Oh yeah, we were talked about that.
Yeah. So well, anyway,
Yeah.
I just want to like lay it out for the fans.
Yeah, no problem.
Rose, Finn, and BB-8, and then Team C's Leia. With R2D2 and C3PO, and the remainder of the Resistance.
I love this upcoming scene. I really, really
Yeah.
do. First Order destruction of Korolev is so widespread, it's created an asteroid field. So our heroes have to contend with this asteroid field, very similar to Empire Strikes Back. And they're literally navigating parts of the planet. So there's like forests, there's hills,
Oh, that's so awesome.
there's
That is
mountains,
interesting.
there's snowy, icy parts, there's chunks of ice that they have to like fly around and fly through and shit. We cut back to Kylo. He's training with Tor Valum, and Valum's saying, "Sever yourself from the past." Again, something that was very present in the Last Jedi narrative, which was getting rid of the past and moving on. So he says, "Sever yourself from the past." The whole idea is to rule without armies. Kind of a good balancing point to what Luke was saying to Rey. Like we can, like, there's a power here that was it stronger than army, where we
But
don't need
we
armies,
won't need armies.
where
yeah.
we won't need armies. So it's kind of crazy that Tor Valum is saying almost the exact same thing, just
Yeah.
a couple pages later, right?
Yeah.
To use the force, the power of force, the ancient power that created the galaxy, which I think is really cool because
Yeah.
it's basically saying that the force is like what created the Big Bang in terms of our context,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of neat.
Yeah. So Tor Valum like teaches. Okay, so like this is an explanation that, I mean, if I'm actually being honest, like if I was watching this movie being made,
Yeah,
I don't know if I would have had an objection to this, because like introducing power drain or life drain. So essentially, like Tor Valum teaches him this life drain that we see in the movie, and this is a way more acceptable
yes,
like
Yeah.
explanation to life drain, like as if this like creature had this like secret power that nobody had, which makes more sense than like Rey finding it somehow
Yep.
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yep.
However, if I'm being completely honest, I probably would have like red flagged it anyways, because it's like we've never seen it before. But it like within like reflection, I probably would have been okay with it.
But the
creature's
dude's 7,000 years old.
Yeah,
7,000
exactly.
years old.
Like,
Of course
somebody
he
would have
knows how
brought
to
that
do
point.
things.
Right?
Somebody would have brought that point up to me, and I
Right.
would have been like,
And he's
"Fine,
actually
fine."
being taught, like somebody's actually teaching him this power, right?
Yeah, and it's not this like
and it's happening on screen, which
Yeah,
I think is
yeah,
very
yeah,
important.
And it's
Exactly.
taking him a long time to learn it.
Yeah.
He's been away for a while. So.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Sorry, not Ray. Ray didn't have that power. It was Palpatine. He just randomly did the life drain power. She had the life transference power, which also popped out of nowhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, like a 7,000-year-old Sith creature teaching Kylo Ren this, I totally buy for sure.
The next scene that we have is Tor Valum sending Kylo Ren into a cave, strong in the dark side. And here, Kylo encounters Darth Vader, and he ends up fighting him, which is really interesting because this is sort of, I mean, the scenes before this is Kylo, he just threw away this mask, and I guess this is his real thing of like overcoming his grandfather's
Yeah.
legacy.
And
of
is it
some
like
way.
a ghost Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a force ghost. Yeah,
Force
it's
ghost
like
Darth
literally
Vader.
like a force vision or
Yeah.
apparition or
It's
whatever
not
you
like
wanna
Force
call it.
Ghost the way we know it, but it's
Yeah.
more like, in the training scene from Luke and Vader.
I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool scene. I want to
Yeah.
watch that.
Also a cave strong in the dark side. Aren't you in a dark side planet? Anyways, continue.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Well, the funny thing is that so Kylo loses, I think, this fight.
Yeah.
And he wakes from the vision realizing that he's not injured or dead. So he ends up going back to Tor Valum. He uses his newfound power that was taught to him to kill the very person. Like, he basically kills Tor Valum.
Yeah,
and he says
he
he doesn't need
life
him
drains him.
anymore. Which is such a, like, honestly, like, so disrespectful, Kylo Ren. Like,
But
honestly.
Kylo is disrespectful.
He's such
That's
an
the whole
angsty
thing.
teenager. I
Yeah.
can't with this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't
legit.
with this guy. I mean, it makes sense. Like, he loses to Darth Vader, and he's like, I'm not strong enough. Oh, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. And it's like, yeah, now he's powerful enough.
It fits his personality. I think
No.
that's
It does fit his
fitting.
personality, and I think that it.
I hope it was
again-
hard for him to beat Tor Valum, though. That guy's 7,000
No,
years
no,
old.
he just life drains his ass.
Yeah, he's a life drains his
Yeah.
ass. He just used the power that he was given, right?
Yeah,
And
but you
he's-
could also say that, like, he's probably not dead. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's
I
an
also
entity.
hope he becomes like more twisted after absorbing the powers of Tor
Probably.
Valum.
He's
probably.
He's a steady descent into it. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, I love how this calls back to The Last Jedi when he kills Snoke, because I think one of the best decisions that we've had in Star Wars in the last fucking like 10, 15 years was Kylo Ren killing Snoke. I thought it was great. It showed
Not
that
at that point in that movie.
it showed that he was ambitious. It showed that he was willing to do whatever he needed to do to get to where he wanted to go, right? And his idea had not his future had nothing to do with Snoke. He was basically playing possum until he had an opportunity to kill him,
I hate
and
possums.
he found the perfect opportunity.
Well, he's going around killing everyone, so it makes sense that he would keep
I don't
doing
know.
it.
I don't know, because like it wasn't even clear that it was his ambition that made him kill Snoke. Snoke made him choose between him and Rey, and he chose Rey. Like that like it's not completely what you're saying it is, because it's like,
Sure.
So first of all, killing Snoke in that point in that movie
Sure,
was a mistake, because we had no idea who Snoke was.
don't care.
Okay, that's fine. You
Yeah.
don't care. You're not the entire
Right.
Star Wars fandom.
Right. But the best part of that is that he had to wait for that opportunity to have somebody like Rey there, where he could literally
Yeah,
control
way he
the
killed
Force
him-
energy within that space, so Snoke couldn't see him coming or couldn't see his
the
attack
way he
coming.
killed them is brilliant.
Right? Yeah.
But like that wrote a lot of people in a lot of corners.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it's at this point that you kind of see like the chessboard being set up, and all the pieces are in the right place, and Coruscant's under like this like battle, and everything's set up, and we're gonna end this episode here because we love cliffhangers here, and meanwhile back in the podcast, and we do want to keep this like as in depth as possible, and we just don't have time in this episode. Yeah, so stay tuned for the grand finale of this script where it all
3.
goes down. So part
Part
3
Yeah,
3.
there's
should
a
be the
lot
last.
left.
Should be the last part, but
It's,
Yeah,
fit-
probably
it's
be the last
fitting
part.
since we're talking about Star Wars to
Yeah.
have a trilogy
rule of 3.
about a Star Wars
that
movie
was
that
the
has been
Yeah.
unwritten.
that was the
so-
plan all along.
Yeah.
We didn't just run out of studio time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're nothing like Lucasfilm. We planned this out.
Yeah, so yeah, stay tuned for part 3, guys. I think we're gonna call it here. So signing off, Chris Sabana.
Christina Dudemuth.
Frank McGuire.
Sabamir.
Later, dudes.
Peace.
Bye.